How we doing? Oh shoot.
As we get going here, how is Drake continue to progress in your offense, and just sort of where do you see him at this point?
Yeah, I think we make progress every day. Um, he's done a lot of good things, and then to me, the greatest part about training camp is you have a opportunity to see different things, experience things you've never experienced, either with the group that you're out there with or within our own system. Against different defenses, our defense, Washington, Minnesota this week. And all of those to me are super valuable for us in terms of his growth in the system and our offense's growth together. So just encouraged by what we're doing every day. I really like the trajectory that we're on.
What's the learning curve been like for him? It's obviously a work in progress, but as you
Yeah,
continue to go about it.
yeah. I mean, he works extremely hard every day to be prepared for each practice, and he's a quick learner. That's for sure. And the biggest thing we've tried to talk about since we got to get on the grass in the spring is to try to limit the number of repeat errors. If we make an error, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing as long as we learn from it and don't repeat it again. So he's pretty quick study in that regard. He's got a great memory. Sometimes in football things happen one day and they might not happen again for 2-3 weeks. But you still got to try to process that in the moment and do it when it counts. So just yeah, again, excited about him, the whole group, in terms of their willingness to learn from their mistakes and then come out and get better the next day.
Josh, you're starting to get used to what these guys can do. Like you mapped it out, mapped it out, and
Mhm.
now you're seeing whether or not it works or not. Is that an ongoing process?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that will probably continue to go on through training camp. And then usually that's going to probably, the evolution of what you do with these guys will continue during the season, especially the first year together. And so I think we've, like today, we're trying some new things with different people, and now that we have a better understanding of each guy's skill set, how much they can process, who can play multiple positions, the types of things that they do well on first and second down, may be different than what they do well on third down. In the red zone, same thing. So we're really trying to hone in on what they do well and what they do best, and then continue to try to grow and build from there.
Josh, when you're a quarterback like Drake, you obviously have a lot of playmaking ability. How difficult is it to sort of convince him on that fine line between playing hero ball and staying just sort of living to fight another day? Is that a tough line to sort of straddle?
Uh, Hopefully, it won't be a tough line to straddle. I think he's still learning, all of those things. He's like, he's such a gifted athlete, and I think a lot of guys that play this position that have ability to throw it, but also to move and make plays with their legs and extend plays. They have to find that line themselves. Honestly, we can tell them all we want. Don't make a bad play. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be the first one in the end zone when he extends a play. And we all saw the one to pop. Early in training camp, and if I was telling him to throw that away, I'd have been pissed at myself. You know what I mean? So I think I would say this, he's definitely more aware as we go into this training camp and the next practice and all that. You saw him slide a couple times the other night, which was great. So again, there's a fine line between holding onto the ball too long in certain situations and then doing the right thing to help the team. And those guys that were blessed with that ability, they're the ones that have to go out there and learn how to do that and balance it.
The way he was able to create with his legs last year, Josh, was a real threat for that offense. Do you have is there like a number in mind for you or Mike or both that like okay, we don't want to exceed this in terms of carries for him because then we might be asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have that. We haven't talked about that, but I think, he had 400 and some yards rushing last year on no designed runs, so I think the reality is, those loose plays are hard to predict when they're going to come up, like the other night, we didn't call a pass play for him to scramble for a first down, but he did, and it was a good play. So I think he just has to understand when there's nothing there and he has an opening, what to do with the ball. I think he's really improving in that area and understanding his value to the team is when he's healthy. And so I think that's what we're all talking about. So players that have the ability to do both, they have to be smart about it, because when Coach Vrabel always says, we're going to protect the team, you know what I mean? And whether that you play running back and you protect the ball, or you make a great decision off the field, or you're the quarterback and you scramble and you decide to slide, all of those things are protecting the team. And so I think Drake is definitively looking to try to do that, every time he has the ball in his hands.
Josh, apologies if you did.
The tush question is, I don't know if we've ever asked you this, the play itself. What are your thoughts on it and even running it with that context in mind?
Yeah, I've never done it. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't do it. I think it depends on if you feel like you need that to gain a additional inertia and move the ball forward. Obviously, the Eagles are exceptional at it and have been for a few years now. I don't dislike the play. Again, I think each team is probably going to make their own decision. One thing I think it is it's not an easy play to practice in full pads and get good at, because we're obviously not going to create a bunch of scrums on the practice field with our own defense, and risk injuries and those kind of things. So you're going to have to find creative ways to do that if you're going to do it. And I'm sure defending it is much the same conversation. How do we defend this if we're not allowed to dive at the center's legs, and what I mean, all the things that defenses try to do to stop it. So we'll look at everything that may help our team win, and certainly Vrabes will make the final decision on things like that.
Josh, apologies if you've been asked this before, but when it comes to the risk-reward nature of Drake's game, specifically when it comes to extending plays, is there anything you found yourself having to do differently as a coach, knowing you've coached a lot of quarterbacks, but perhaps not one with this particular skill?
Not really, because I think as a coach, you have to coach each play as if they're not going to run past the quarterback and give him a lane to take off and run with the ball. I think that's kind of a happening, if you know what I mean. It's, you happen to, it's like a hole in one in golf. You know what I mean? Like, none of us are hitting it to go in the hole, but sometimes, I haven't never done it, but every once in a while it'll go in and you'll go, wow, that was great. You know what I mean? So I think, to me, when he scrambles, hopefully it's under the right circumstances. I thought you saw him the other night on a few of those things, hang in a pocket and do the right thing, So we have to coach as if the defense is going to play good defense, and we're going to need to maintain our posture as a passer and try to find the open receivers, which I think he's done a great job of. And again, in training camp, it's hard to simulate those things because, we don't run with the ball a whole lot, and scramble and all the rest of it. So, we'll see. It'll be a work in progress during the season.
Josh, I'm curious. Trevion Henderson, I know his touchdown was more of a special teams play, but just what did you see?
We count that as an offensive play too. So.
What did you see on that play, and just what kind of threat and weapon do you have?
I mean, I think everybody sees Trevion the same way. He's first of all, he's a tremendous kid, awesome individual, really hard worker, smart kid, can process a lot of information. Which allows you as a coach to try to use him in the ways that he should be used. Explosive, I think we all saw that the other night, and tough, physical. So I don't have many negatives to say about Trey, but excited to coach him. We've had some really good players with skill sets that are somewhat like his. Maybe nobody quite as fast as, Vereen was probably the fast. Him and Danny Woodhead were fast, but Trevion's fast. So excited to be with him.
Do you see any of that tape at all?
Yeah, he's seen plenty, and now he's putting it on tape too. So we use a lot of practice film to review what we can do better, and obviously we have some things we can use from the past, but certainly trying to get these guys to do it their own selves.
It seems like rule changes, a couple blocks have made screens a little bit more difficult to run league wide. What's the key to being able to practice and execute those at a high level?
I think you need to practice them at full speed. So whether it's in a joint practice or some type of a scrimmage situation, I think those are always good. And then, we called a few in the game the other night. It's hard to simulate that in shells without a full speed rush and all the rest of it. When the rushers have to pull off the quarterback, it's not the same. So I think, as many of those as we can practice and work on, I think that's the best situations. Hopefully we can run a few here this week against Minnesota, see how they go. But coaching off of them, and then when we get to the regular season, obviously we'll have an opportunity to do it against real competition each week. And hopefully we know what we're trying to get out of the play. The lack of cutting and all that, I mean, it kind of goes both ways. They're not allowed to cut us on tosses and all that. We're not allowed to cut them on screen. So it evens out at the end.
Josh, two rookies on the left side. I think our good friend Mike Reese had a stat, hasn't been done in 25 years to start the season. What has given you the confidence that those two guys can handle what is about to come their way?
I think the way they work every day certainly is that's where it starts, and their performance. They've earned that right. This isn't something that somebody just said, oh, well, it's going to do that without watching them in practice and evaluating what's best for the team. I think certainly Mike makes those decisions, and we're all here to try to support the guys that are in there and try to improve their skill set each day. But I think they've performed admirably. There's going to be some things they're going to learn throughout the course of every game, every practice, and our job is to help them improve. And so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to get frustrated with a mistake here or there. And we're going to make sure that we try to do everything we can to help them get better. And so far, those guys have made progress steadily throughout the course of their time here.
Josh, Garrett Bradbury shared yesterday that you guys are going to game plan a little bit for Flo because he's seen other teams come in against Flo, and just his word was disaster. Just what specifically, with the way Brian runs his defense, is going to most benefit you guys this week? Do you
I
think?
feel like you just jinxed me, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a lot of different things, So I think we've seen a lot from our defense here, which has been great work for us. But I also, this is going to be a new. They'll align in different spots. They'll pressure us in different ways that maybe our defense hasn't yet. And it's just great to go up there and get tested. What happens in these practices is you find out how well you know your rules, because you can't anticipate everything. We're not going to have 3 days of meetings and 3 practices, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to get ready to play them. So we're going to have hopefully a heck of a work day today, and then get ready to meet on them a little bit later today and tomorrow, and then go out there and let it rip on Wednesday. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot. There's going to be some mistakes. There almost always is both ways when you have a joint practice. And hopefully it's similar to what we just experienced with Washington, which is a great day of work, hopefully a couple days up in Minnesota.
Josh,
You got it.
it's okay. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks, guys.